I advocate being happy with what you have, but I also advocate wanting more. I'm really happy with what I have. I'm really grateful for what I have, and I want more. So you want to be hungry and you want to be happy in equal measure. If you're too happy and not hungry enough, that's called complacency. That's called stagnation. If you're hungry, really hungry, and you're not happy, that could be desperation. That could be misery. That could be envy of what everybody else has. So you want happiness and hunger in equal measure. And then finally, it's a belief that everything leads to ultimate success. So my invitation to you today is that whatever happens today, good or bad, just say, this is going to lead to my success. So if you have a great day today, it's going to lead to your success. If you have a not so great day today, it's going to lead to your success. How many of you have ever had one of those days when you believed that God had nothing better to do than make your life a misery? We all have days like that, right? You want to see that day as a major opportunity to rethink, recalibrate, reinvent, and move forward. Because we don't take those actions when everything is hunky-dory. We do take those actions when we know we have to either fix things or realign things. So here's the mantra of personal challenge. I'm ready, bring it on. So just turn to a person on either side of you, and with all the conviction you have within you, just look them in the eyes and say, I'm ready, bring it on. Yeah. And by the way, I get you to say these things because if you just think these things, they're not really real. What happens when you just think something is you think you know, but you don't really know because you haven't manifested it or shared it with somebody else. And by the way, the word always precedes the action. If you say the words, then you're ready to take action. If you don't say the words, you're not ready to take action. And if all you take away from my session today is this phrase, so next time you're confronted with a problem or a crisis in your office, just look at the people around you and say, I'm ready, bring it on. With that kind of smile that says, in my previous life, I was Dirty Harry.
Or Vin Diesel.
Or Vin Diesel. Okay, let's go to the second star social value, adaptive navigation. This is the capacity to adapt oneself to life's uncertainties and change. You know, your happiness is a direct function of your ability to adapt real time. As things change, you want to change. It's the desire to explore complexity as a learning experience and source of opportunity. Now, please understand, I am not saying that you shouldn't feel afraid when you're confronted with the desire to explore complexity. But fear is your friend. Fear is what keeps you sharp. Another word for fear is respect. It's the understanding that complexity is the antithesis of neat and tidy. You know, 40 years ago, there was a famous Canadian called Marshall McLuhan who said the medium is the message. Today, a not-so-famous Canadian, because not that many people know how well-known I am, is telling you this, the mess is the message. We're living in the mess age. So your ability to live with T's that haven't been crossed and I's that haven't been dotted and N's that are still loose will determine your effectiveness. You do not want to be someone who needs to go home every night with an empty inbox. Because I see so many people, Because I see so many people who spend their time emptying out their inbox to the point where they're even answering spam. Or very close to it. How many emails are you wasting your time with that you could just as easily delete or ignore? It's the ability to focus on what counts while seeing the bigger picture. So you want to keep the main thing, but you also want to see the context. You want to be able to understand what's going on around you as you take your actions. Because every action is a cause set in motion. Jim Collins, who wrote the fabulous book, Great by Choice, talks about zooming in, being able to go into the granularity of something, and then zooming out and seeing it from the bridge. And that's the mark of a leader, being able to be incredibly detail-oriented and also being big picture. And it's also the ability to go fast and slow. You know, sometimes you've got to respond reflexively, instantaneously. And sometimes you want to pause and think and breathe and then take action. And the challenge is to know when to do what. And I see Stephanie smiling there. Steph, I don't think you'll ever be able to do this, so just give up now. For Stephanie, it's go fast. So here's the adaptive navigation mantra. Life is a magical mystery, and I'm going to solve it. So just turn to a person on either side of you and say, life is a magical mystery, and I'm going to solve it. All right. Okay, let's go to 3. So far we've spoken about personal challenge and adaptive navigation. Let's look at full expression. This is a desire to fully develop and express one's talent and personality. In that magic quadrant, what we see are people telling us that their happiness is a direct function of the fact that they feel fully used. They feel fully employed. They don't come home at night feeling as though only a fraction of themselves has been let out to play. It's a need to communicate authentically and spontaneously with others, which is why you are all here, which is why this meeting isn't happening via streaming video, which is why even bloggers have an annual convention in Vegas, which is why, despite the explosion of social media, there are more face-to-face meetings than ever before. People need to be with other people. They need to talk spontaneously and authentically. And I'm going to ask you to do something. In fact, let me preface that with a question. How many of you have ever been in a meeting and you know you have had something valuable to say, but you didn't say it? How did you feel about yourself afterwards when you had this valuable thing to say that you didn't say? How did you feel about yourself? Pretty crappy, right? And why didn't you say those things that you wanted to say? Because you were scared of looking bad. You were scared of looking stupid. Don't worry what people think about you, because if you knew how little time they spend thinking about you, you wouldn't worry what they think about you. In fact, while you were talking, they probably weren't even listening. But don't let your fear of embarrassment lead to a prolonged period of regret. And I don't know about you, but the pain of regret is vastly more severe than the pain of embarrassment. Because what you consider to be embarrassment, the other person considers a non-event. It is, and this is the most important phrase I can share with you the whole morning, inspired performance sustained by a passion for the grind. So every single day, you and I have got to show up and we've got to do certain things, right? And often we have to do the same things tomorrow and the day after and the day after that we've done the last day, and the day before that and the day before that. It's called a routine. It's called a certain schedule. But it's how we do those things that define how well we do those things. So, in any given year, I will give about 120 talks. How would you feel about me today if I was introduced as Mr. Lipkin, the great motivator, when he's on, who is here to somehow get through his 102nd talk? Would you be sitting there in eager anticipation of my message? No. So for me, I've got a passion for this. And this ain't easy. In fact, if you want to be preeminent, nothing is easy. But if you have a passion for that grind and you bring that passion to everything every day, chances are you bring out your best game. It is the reverse of regret and procrastination. So if you want an antidote to regret and procrastination, fully express yourself now. As I say to folks, procrastinate later. And finally, it's an understanding and an appreciation that we're all either amplifiers or inhibitors of each other's power.